Hi, this is Rob Bowron for Sharp College Football, and we're going to try this again. I got a new audio device, and I think I've got it. We'll see as this takes off. All right, it worked. So today we're going to preview one of the fun teams to preview as we come into this. Not only that, as we wind down, number 2 Clemson. We have one more to go. I mean, I know, I feel like if you're a Clemson fan, you're like, what do you mean there's one more team to go? But there's one more team to go after this, and that is really exciting. We started out and all the way back in like March or something, doing the Twitter previews. We started the video previews in May-ish, maybe, or hard to tell. It all blends together these days. But really excited to cover this Clemson team today. One of the absolute best teams in college football. And really, I don't think you can take away from it. Dabo Swinney often finds a way to stick his foot in his mouth, but he has done one of the best jobs in college football, probably in the last 25 years in building a program. Not that Clemson hasn't had success in their past, but the kind of success that Dabo has delivered is remarkable. And is a stepwise improvement, over where they have been. That kind of success and being able to sustain it is a remarkable achievement from Dabo Swinney. So you have to absolutely take your hat off for what he's been able to build at Clemson. So they finished out last season at number 3 overall in beta rank, finishing behind Ohio State. I think that could surprise some people. I think if you look at that like Clemson did play very well against Ohio State, but they also got some luck with some turnovers. And I mean, Venables had a terrific game plan. Absolutely. And we'll get into a little bit of that, but they also got a little lucky with the Buckeyes with some turnovers and not finishing some drives. Then they also finished at number 2 in 2018. Again, like Alabama had the better season. Clemson had the better game. I think in both of those cases, though, you really have to point to Venables again on a terrific game plan, being able to slow down and confuse two of the best offenses that we've seen, in the last couple of years, and that Ohio State offense last year and the Alabama offense the year before. Venables really, he should be his former boss, Big Game Bob. It should be Big Game Brent for his ability to really deliver game plans and adjustments in those big games. In order to keep the Tigers in it. So Dabo Swinney, the head coach, he is fired up. he's a fired up guy. So, they actually, if you're going to point to, I mean, and it feels almost like, it feels so nitpicky. If you're going to pick, and there are some areas that they could certainly improve on from last season, but I think one of the areas that they probably need to improve on most off of last year is special teams. They were at number 12 in special teams at beta rank at the end of the season last year. They're leaving some hidden yards, on the table. They need to, if they want to finish out this season as a national champion, they need to put together a little better effort on special teams. And finish in the top 5, and be a little more competitive there. When you start to get to this level, everything really matters. And Clemson special teams, they need to be better in returns and coverage and place kicking coming into next season. They're at 96 in returning production. They are returning more than 50% of the production. So I think that 96, people see a number farther down and they think, oh my gosh, no one's coming back. There's a lot coming back on this Clemson squad. They are missing some key contributors that are not going to be back. But what they do bring back, you really like. They're number 6 in recruiting. There is some space. I mean, there's still some, it's not to say that I think they haven't been improving. They absolutely have been improving in their recruiting from where they've been, but there is still some space between where Alabama recruits, where Georgia recruits, and Clemson recruits. That said, the only team that develops players better than Clemson is Navy, and no one gets more, almost no one gets more than they're out of their players relative to their recruiting rankings, and whatnot, as the service academies do. However, up at the top levels of college football, the teams are also getting a ton out of their players as well. And Clemson is number 2. They get a lot out of their players. So part of how they make up for that deficit versus, in recruiting versus the Alabamas and Georgias of the world is they make up for it a little bit in being a little better at player development and coaching. Not a bad place to make it up. So we're excited to get through this preview, cover off Clemson. I had a little bit of an audio issue, so we're doing this again. We're doing it live. Well, I mean, this is we're doing it live twice. In this case, so it's I got a new audio interface. I'm pretty excited about it. I think it sounds great. But of course, with anything new, you get to learn some of the quirks as you go. And because I have a daily cadence on these preview videos right now, as I attempt to get through them, even as the season has already started, and I also have like a day job and a family. We got to work out some kinks on the fly. I got to do 26 minutes that I am going to end up totally deleting. Such is life. You live and learn. Anyway, we're excited to get to cover Clemson and get through this. So let's go ahead and jump in the numbers and see what they looked like last season, because they did have an excellent defense and offense last year. All right, I fixed it. Man, what a dumb thing. Anyway, so this offense right here is number 5 overall in beta rank. It's scaled number 1 there so it's between 0 and 1. Number 1 there is LSU. So Clemson's offense was roughly only 80% of LSU's offense. That's a pretty significant fall off when you are missing 20% of what LSU is bringing to the table. You got to see some of that in that national championship game where LSU really was just on all cylinders. That was true against anyone they played at the end of the year last year. But that offense for Clemson, they have yet to really hit into the realm of where offenses have started to get to where they are. I joke around and call it the era of big offense. Since 2015 and Nick Saban really deciding that he needed to play very good offense, that he couldn't just get by with the defense anymore. Clemson has delivered. They've mostly kept some pace with where the offenses have gone in college football, but they've yet to really hit the range that some other teams have. And it's not to say they haven't, it's, held them back too much. They've had having the number 1 defense helps, having Brent Venables helps there, but this might be the year that Clemson needs to get there and reach that, new level of offense that we've been seeing. Although, we'll see. I mean, this year it's been a pretty steady upward progression in what the top offenses have looked like in college football since 2015. This year could break that a little bit. Ohio State's really probably the other big challenger out there, along with Alabama. You have a little more confidence in Ohio State and Alabama, Clemson and Ohio State, because they return their play callers as well as their quarterbacks, and a lot of other key contributors as well. Anyway, so let's get it. So Clemson's drive efficiency number, they're pretty good on drive efficiency. Number 5 there, they were able to put together long drives to be able to put up points. Number 6 in explosive drives, they were able to certainly put up some big plays when necessary. Number 4 in play efficiency, controlling for, as all these metrics control for field position and opponent. They were able to put up, very good yards per play and very good in negative drives. They didn't get a lot of 3 and outs, didn't turn the ball over very much. They came off the bench with a plan and got a first down. They don't stand out an immense amount in either their rush or their pass. Number 11 in effective rush, number 16 in effective pass. A pretty balanced offense for the most part, and that's good. I mean, that's if you could do it and get away with it, do it. Absolutely. I mean, the last year, some of the offenses that were ahead of Clemson tended to lean into a little bit more one or the other, but there's lots of ways to skin the cat in college football. Their offensive coordinator, Tony Elliott, this is him accepting the Broyles Award in 2016, 2017. I can't tell. I think it's 2017 because Venables won it the year before. I forgot to make it a note of it. Anyway, Clemson, their coordinators won the Broyles back-to-back years. How about that? I won't even list it here. Elliott's done a terrific job with this Clemson offense, and when he decides to take the opportunity to go be a head coach on his own, it's certainly going to be there for them. I think he's a potential star in the making. And along with Venables whenever he decides to take a head coaching job. So for Elliott, I'm excited to get to see him, with this offense again, with Lawrence coming back. Lawrence graded out at number 2 in Pro Football Focus's QB grades last season. Had a terrific year, particularly down the backstretch. He struggled a bit in his first 3 games. They weren't graded as highly, but down his last 7 games, he was actually, over the back half of the season, he was the highest graded quarterback that Pro Football Focus graded out. So really a heck of a year from him. And coming back, only Joe Burrow was really ahead of him. Last year, Burrow was, of course, off to the NFL. Lawrence is, in some ways your prohibitive favorite for the Heisman at this point. But we should be excited to see, the last, assuming he's off to the NFL, the last hurrah of Trevor Lawrence in college football. And they were number 7 in Pro Football Focus's offensive line grades. Good on the run, good against the pass, good, protecting the passer, a real solid offensive line outing for Clemson last season. They're number 79 in returning production. That means they bring back 60% of what they brought back from last season. This is all for the good. I think when you look at Clemson in particular, and some of these other teams up here, you really do have to have confidence in their ability to reload. I think Clemson has shown that they can do that. I think that this offense is going to be in a really good place. And they were at number, Elliott had them at number 4 on offense in 2018. So they have been really consistently good. There is just a little bit of unlocked headroom there. It's like they've had a little bit of almost like a speed governor compared to where, the offenses, in particular, some of the offenses that were ahead of them last season in LSU, Ohio State, and Bama in particular. Clemson needs to unlock it and catch them this year with Lawrence coming back and everybody else, and so much else coming back, as well as the coordinator. On defense, number 1, the best defense in college football last year. And again, this is scaled, I think, for comparison purposes. I scale this towards usually the best offense, because the offense usually ends up being grading out as more in the era of big offense. Like the offense weights a little more than the defense does. So they were only about 80% of the effectiveness that LSU's offense was. You saw some of that in the title game. Very good on drive efficiency. They were able to find a way to get off the field, not give up long drives. Good on against explosive drives, not giving up a lot of big plays. Very good on play efficiency right there. Number 2 there, they were able to control the yards per play. Number 1 on negative drives. They came off the bench with a plan. They didn't give up a lot of first downs. They forced 3 and outs. They forced turnovers. Just terrific job there. Number 1 against the run, and number 3 in effective pass. And you could see there, LSU is number 1 in effective pass on defense, not that far behind where the national champion Tigers were last year. So this is just a terrific defense. They were number 1 in 2018. Brent Venables is their defensive coordinator. Whenever he decides to go off and become a head coach, he will likely also land a very big job when he does that. He's, for my money, the best defensive coordinator in all of college football. Just a heck of a job. I'm excited to see this defense again this year. They're at 102 in returning production. That's 50% of production returning. So they do have some folks to replace on this defense. I expect that they're going to be able to do it. We don't project them into that. We have Georgia projected as the top defense coming back. They return a lot more production than Clemson does. And we have Oregon right behind them. Oregon returns a lot off of very good defense last year too. But we do project that Clemson's going to be a very, very good defense again. I expect that, they're going to be able to reload pretty well, and Venables will actually, absolutely have them, playing at their peak performance. Let's take a look at the schedule. So the schedule that was, Clemson projects at 11.61 wins against a 12-game schedule. That is ridiculous. Sorry, drink of water. This is my second run through on this, so I'm a little parched. That kind of expected win total. You really expect Clemson to go fully undefeated again. Some of that is that Clemson projects to be very good. Some of it is that the ACC doesn't project to be quite there again this season. The ACC as a whole has been in a real trough behind Clemson. North Carolina is starting to pull them out of that, some of it out of it a little bit. But, as you can see, looking at a lot of these point spreads here, it's not particularly appealing, I think. You're not really going to, when you go through this schedule here, there's nothing you're really missing as far as the non-conference games go. I mean, I don't feel like you're missing, seeing Clemson play Akron. It's a bummer to not see them not play South Carolina a little bit, but it's just going to be that year, I guess. The schedule that is, there's a couple of games that have been added on to this, and of course the games that were subtracted. But we have the game against Wake Forest. Wake really struggled last year, even with Jamie Newman. He's gone. He's not even going to be playing college football now either. I don't think that they're going to be, and we don't project them to be anywhere near Clemson. Almost a 40-point underdog in that game. Clemson should absolutely blow the doors off the Citadel. Then you've got Virginia. Virginia's going to take a little bit of a step back off of where they were last season. They have some production losses. They are almost a 28-point underdog. That feels about right for where they're going to be, we believe. Boston College, we'll see where Jeff Hafley has this defense. Their quarterback also has transferred off to Oregon. I think BC could potentially improve. It'll be more down the stretch though. Oh my gosh, I'm going down like the wrong schedule here. I apologize. So the Miami game, let's cover that one. Miami should be fun. Their defense could be good. It should be good again. It all depends on the offense. Miami could actually beat their projection a little bit, depending on where Rhett Lashley, their new offensive coordinator, and Derek King, their new quarterback that they have transferring in from Houston, get them. I expect Miami could beat their projection, but right now we have this projected with Clemson with a 98% win probability and almost a 25-point favorite, 24.33. Georgia Tech. I think it's going to still be a little bit of recruiting and rebuilding for Georgia Tech following the Paul Johnson years. I think they've got a little bit still to tweak on that roster. Almost a 27-point favorite for Clemson there. Syracuse, they've really fallen off a bit since their good year under Babers. That year they had was really more defense-led than offense. The offense really has not gotten going for the Orange up there, despite Babers, extensive experience on the offensive side of the ball. They've got, Clemson, it projects as a huge, 37.5 point favorite in that game. That actually feels about right, for this game. We'll see. Syracuse is implementing under a new defensive coordinator that San Diego State 3-3-5 defense. It could potentially help. They have from a pure talent perspective, Clemson or Syracuse should be a lot better than 89. So if they can get some decent coaching and things going there, they could significantly improve. But yikes. The Boston College, we started to preview this one. So it really depends on where Hafley has this defense. I think, by the time that they play them at the end of October, they could potentially have started to click a little bit. But when I say click, it's not going to be, they could have this down to maybe a 21-point game by that point. But right now it projects as 27.22. Notre Dame, this is the close-ish game on Clemson's schedule. I think for both of these teams, you really look at it and think that, that there is a potential for them to beat their projections. Notre Dame, we have projected at 12 in beta rank. But it's also true that we think Clemson could beat their projection. And even if they stay at number 2, it's likely that as the season goes on and the model knows more about them and replaces the projection data with in-season data, that Clemson's going to be better than their actual underlying beta rank number is right now. This could be, still be at 14 points by the time it's played on the road in South Bend. Florida State, this game really, for me, depends on where Mike Norvell has that offense and that offensive line that he was gifted by Willie Taggart. I think that this game could be a little closer. Florida State certainly has some talent, but at all, 23 points feels about right for where the Seminoles finished last year and what they're bringing back this year. Beta rank doesn't take into account the coaching change. So Norvell, and company could, really could, I think, get them going more in a right direction than perhaps the projection model has them. Pitt, this is a game that's added to the schedule. 99% win probability for Clemson, almost a 28-point favorite there. Virginia Tech, 96% win probability, 20.72 on the spread there. So it's when you look at the schedule, I think you should be coming away saying, man, Clemson's going to go undefeated because, against almost everyone except Notre Dame, and they don't have North Carolina on here, against almost everyone except Notre Dame, they're going to win even if they have, 2 turnovers and play better. I mean, you have to start to get into 3-4 turnover range, and also playing really, badly outside the turnovers, on a lot of these games. So Clemson, this schedule sets up for Clemson to win on their off nights, which is, one of the main things that, the hard thing of going undefeated in the SEC or, is often in the SEC West is that you're not going to win if you're playing, really, you're not going to win on your off nights in the SEC West. So it, gives you a razor thin margin. For Clemson, this ACC schedule is nothing like that. So their margin is, they have a lot of margin for error in most of these games in this season. So it should be this should be a year that Clemson's able to rest some starters as necessary, and really set themselves up for a run at the playoff and make sure that they're clicking on all cylinders by the time that they finish out. So this is and it's not that the schedule that would have been any harder. They still had a fairly easy schedule, set up for them with the way the ACC play is playing out. Now the ACC, if they were to take a step forward, this could all change. But the conference, as you can see across the board, is not ranked terribly highly in a lot of our projections coming into this year. So, whoops, there we go. All right, let's finish out. I'm excited. I mean, we only have one more of these to go, but the Clemson, they're I think if you look at what they have coming back this year, we have Alabama projected at number 1 in the model. Clemson certainly has a little less uncertainty around them than Bama does. I mean, bringing back Lawrence, I think certainly helps. If you were to say, looking at our top 3, you have Alabama projected at number 1 and then Clemson and Ohio State. In some ways, Clemson has the least questions of any of those teams. Alabama has both coordinators returning, but no quarterback. Ohio State has the quarterback and the offensive play caller coming back, but a new, defensive coordinator who has not called plays before coming in. So Clemson returns the coordinators and the quarterback. So they have a little more certain, a little more you can hang your hat on. So I'm in no way surprised that people have Clemson at number 1. That is a fairly logical take there. We just, Alabama's track record, the projection model really likes it. Let's put it that way. So, Bama, I think, will be, it'll be fun to run through them tomorrow, but they're not going to have anything like the margin for error that Clemson certainly has here. You can really confidently say, given everything that Clemson has going for them, as well as the schedule, that you can almost write Clemson into the playoff in pen, coming in right now. The thing to watch for to see that Clemson's going to beat their projection coming into this year, and I think it's somewhat twofold, is, you could maybe say it's 3. I mean, and I'm going to say, watch special teams. Let's see where Clemson special teams are grading out this year in advanced stats, because it was a little, they weren't quite where they needed to be last year, and it was a small area of weakness for them. The other thing to watch then is the offense. Can they find that next level, right? They're, yes, grading out in 4 and at 5 is very, very good. And I don't want to take away from that, but there's that little bit above that matters. And it matters more than just moving up from 10 to 9. It matters, moving from 3 to 4 matters more than moving from 10 to 9. And, moving from, 3 to 2 matters more than moving from 6 to 5. There's just a bigger improvement lately in college football. And as those offensives have really started to creep up, Clemson it's not that they haven't kept pace. They haven't quite reached that level. And this is the year for them to reach that level. So we need to see this offense really hit on all cylinders, in this coming year and be more of the, potent, overwhelming weapon to go with the defense. On the defensive side of the ball, I think it is going to be interesting to see, how they are able to replace some of their really important players that they lost off of last season. I expect Venables to have them rounded out and playing well, but I mean, where do they shake out, right, in the final rankings? Are they, do they stay in the top 5? Is this the first year in a while that, they drop out of the top 5? I don't expect that, but they are losing enough production and some stars. It's worth keeping an eye on there. I fully expect them to finish out in the top 5. So this Clemson team, you could, like I said, you could pretty much book them into the playoff at this point against this schedule. I'm excited to get to see them play. And we should all, get to enjoy, the last hurrah of Trevor Lawrence in college football before he goes off to the pros. So tomorrow we're going to do something a little different. We're starting a new show here at Sharp College Football. It's called the Saturday Six. There are only 2 more FBS games, FBS versus FBS games this weekend. So we're going to cover those tomorrow in kind of a dry run. But going forward, we're going to pick 6 games that you should know and watch, and we'll preview them in advanced stats and spend about 3 minutes on each. So try to move through fairly quickly and get you the information and move on. It'll be at 6 a.m. tomorrow. I'll get up. It'll be on Periscope, and you can catch it there, or you can catch it on YouTube. And it won't, if you're not up at 6, you'll still be able to find it. So we'll do that. And then the format going forward will be, and this may not hold this season with the Pac-12 and the Big Ten not playing, but we'll try to pick the 5 best games that you should know and one group of 5 game that you should know and watch. Preview them in beta rank, talk about what's important in the game and what can help decide the game, and then, move on. So if you're, if college game day is droning on and on tomorrow, or, during the commercial breaks, go ahead and flip on the Saturday 6. And we'll be, I'm excited to do it. It should be a lot of fun. So tune in for that tomorrow. You can find all the stats you just saw and a whole lot more at sharpcollegefootball.com. I'm Rob Bowron. I'm the econometrician chicken behind Beta Rank. I also tweet out and handle the account at Sharp College Football. We have a Pac-12 podcast at 12 Pack Radio, and you can find all the back episodes of that at sharpcollegefootball.com/12 Pack Radio. Thank you so much for tuning in. Stay safe out there, and we will see you tomorrow early.